Hello, everyone. It is time for another MCU review with your favorite used to be council, still kind of a council. Don't know what we're calling ourselves, but doesn't matter. Anyway, so hi, I'm Constance, and I'm joined by the lovely Natalia.
Hello. I'm wearing our merch.
Yes, go merch.
Done by the lovely Kyle. That's how you segue, babe.
Yes, perfect.
Hello, everybody. Hello, good to be here. I'm wearing not our merch.
Sad.
Neither am
Sorry.
I. I have the pillowcase. I could go get it.
I have put on the shirt right now. It's just,
Yeah,
I don't know if
no.
we should.
But it's time to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And my co hosts here, they both have expressed, oh boy, I can't wait to dive in. So I say we dive right in. Right before we hit record, Kyle was like, ooh, I got a lot to say. I'm very curious. So go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, okay.
Spoilers, by the way,
Oh,
everyone.
yes. Yes. Our
Yeah,
spoiler talk.
spoilers.
Of
Yes.
course. Yes. Spoilers. Spoilers.
um, yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say, but I guess I'll say it as we go. But yeah, I liked overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot. It was so much it was so much more sad than I thought it was gonna be. I knew going in that it was gonna be pretty fucked up, but this was like a different level. Especially when you're dealing with animals and like torture and stuff. That shit just really, I don't know. Like I think I'd expressed something similar with Nope when we talked about it last time. I really liked the movie because of like the messaging they had there, where it's like don't fuck with Mother Nature and things that you're not supposed to. So in the same way, I really appreciated what James Gunn did here with the subject matter, and I thought it was really nuanced, and it was also, despite like the rocket stuff, even the stuff with the rest of the Guardians was like, with Star Lord and his arc for the movie, and just everybody. I thought it was a really satisfying ending. So, yeah, really loved it.
Cool.
Yes.
All right. Natalia, do you want to give your overall thoughts?
Yes. Overall thoughts. First, a question to Kyle, because I asked this to Constance. How much did you cry?
I cried like a little bitch the entire time. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like pretty much every like baby rocket flashback,
Same.
I was like, oh my god, rocket.
Yeah.
um yeah, so a lot.
Yes. I also cried too. I did not cry. I went with Hannah, of course. I did not cry as much as her, but during, I don't remember which one of the many rocket flashback scenes that was on, I looked over to her and she was just red and just falling. It was so sad. Yeah.
I will tell
Uh,
you, the one that like hurt the most, um no pun
oh,
intended, by the way, was his first word when it showed Rocket like being dropped in the cage and his like little scalp was shaved, and his very first word was, "It hurts." I was
hurts.
like, "Oh
Oh,
god." And then what's her name? Lila gives him the towel to like dab the blood. I was like, "Oh
Linda
wow."
Cardellini.
Yeah.
That was
Bravo.
good. My overall thoughts, great, loved it. I've always felt like, um, as its own thing of the Guardians, I always felt like they've been the strongest series. I really loved the character growth and the character arc of each one of the Guardians, not just Rocket. I really loved near the end, um, uh, Drax and what's Karen Gillan's character's name again?
Nebula.
Nebula.
Nebula, and how they just kept bitching at each other the whole time, and how she never really found like any use to Drax. And then with the language and barrier, and just, oh no, he's meant to
Yeah.
be a dad. Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so good.
So sweet.
It's so sweet. Yeah. But I really liked everyone's own individual growth in the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also very sad. In general, sad movie. Bring tissues.
Everyone said that, and I don't know if it was just like a built up, and so I did not go there. I mean, there were moments that were definitely sad. I gasped more than I cried. It was more like, like I couldn't look right at it, at times. Like, oh no. But I didn't actually cry. My overall thoughts, I liked it a lot. I was so nervous because I was very upset with Doctor Strange 2. I was very upset with Thor 4. I was like, oh no, they're gonna find a way to fuck it up. They're gonna find a way. And it's because I was like, okay, well, if Taika Waititi, is doing Thor 4 and you have the same people, why is this nothing like Ragnarok? So I thought this would have the same problem. I'm like, oh, you can't trust that it's the same team. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I was wrong. Now, it's not a perfect film. I do have umbrage with a couple things, but I really liked it a lot. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not done with Marvel. I was like, I'm going to watch this out of obligation and then I might be done. Some faith has been restored in me. That's how good.
Yes.
So.
Our reviews live on.
We're still going, people.
So what do you guys want to dive into first? Something like structure wise, or do we want to do characters? Like, I don't know what topics you want to spend some time on. So
I get maybe characters.
Yeah, sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to do original cast to the experiments or what? Do we want to go for more heartbreaking or do we want to build up to it?
I don't know. I say somebody just starts talking about something and then
Okay. I love Rocket's little team of friends. I thought the casting for them was really good. Linda Cardellini as Lila. Asim, I can't remember his name, but I know him from, he's a British comedian. And I know him from
Teeps.
Teeps, yes. But I know him from a comedy show called Taskmaster, where a bunch of comedians compete for a series of weeks to be the best comedian of the week in some weird tasks. It's weird. I find it very entertaining, but I know him from that, and it was good to see him again. And Floor, who was Floor? I don't remember who Floor. Where is my cursor?
But it was hard to look right at Floor.
Yeah.
The mouth.
I know,
thing,
with the mouth and then the spot.
very Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Meets that
Toy Story.
Toy Story.
And a little bit of Coraline with the arm. Yeah. But I just loved them being together. I know so many people were like, oh, we need a spin-off of them. Like, what we had with them was fine. I don't want to see how each of them were all taken and experimented on, because I could barely get through it with Rocket.
Right.
What we had with them in there was perfect. And I just love how everyone was so hopeful in this tragedy that they were thrown into. And I really loved Rocket's honesty and he was just so constant the whole time while still being really level and kind of up with everyone else, and it's so good. So good. Kyle, you look like you want to say something or no?
No, yeah, go ahead, Constance.
Okay. Well, I'm hearing a lot of talk about Adam Warlock. Now, I don't read the comics. I don't know the character, so I don't know if this is a faithful adaptation, because I always do research after the fact. So I didn't realize that they took a lot of liberties with other storylines. Like, for instance, it's Hank Pym who makes Ultron not start, so that really changes, this from the source material. So I'm like, okay, I don't know how accurate it is. Now, I liked him. I actually liked his first scene. I like that he comes in and he just I thought it reminded me of Infinity War when Thanos just beats the shit out of Hulk. I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna. I thought one of them was gonna die. I really thought, okay, half the team's gonna die, or a couple of them will die, and I thought someone was gonna die right then and there. And I was like, okay, they want you to pay attention. Like, this is gonna be different, I liked him a lot. I do agree that it does feel like, oh, they wanted to go this whole other way, but they're like, hey, but we teased him, so we got to put him in here. So it did feel like there was not two movies in one, but like, oh, we have to commit to this thing that we already promised. but between that movie and this movie, so much has happened that we kind of need to go over here now. And so he almost doesn't fit, but I like him a lot. What do you guys think of Adam Warlock?
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. I think, and that's a lot due to you know the whole Infinity War slash Endgame, kind of like using the Guardians and in that storyline, which is weird because, to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Adam Warlock in the comics either, but I do know he's like a very central part of like the Infinity Stones Thanos story. So you would think that they would I guess James Gunn wanted to introduce him himself, but you would think that they would, because I believe they introduced, like, they had that end credit scene before those films, right? So you would think, I don't know, like, you would think that they would introduce them in those films to go along with the story, but it ended up working out. And I think James Gunn handled not only Adam Warlock, but also, the whole Gamora storyline and everything. I think everything was handled really well, in terms of, like, kind of, quote unquote, like, cleaning up somebody else's, not mess, but, like, what they were doing with the characters. So yeah, I agree. Adam Warlock was really cool. Like, he wasn't as big a character as I thought he was going to be in this movie. Like you said, it was kind of like almost a separate movie every time we saw him. But I will say, oh, and also too, I like what you said, that when you thought that the Guardians were going to die there, because that's so funny, because every other scene, I was like afraid. I was like worried about them. I was like, okay, this is when somebody's gonna die. This is when somebody's gonna die. And I kept thinking that throughout the entire movie. So I guess props to building up that suspense constantly, consistently throughout the film.
And then never committing to it.
And yeah, which, you know what, I don't mind.
Me neither.
And I will say that, like, I tweeted this and stuff, but I think I have a lot more faith in Superman Legacy after seeing this, and and the take on Adam Warlock, who has, kind of Superman-y vibes somewhat. So yeah, I liked his character, and I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
I also liked Adam Warlock. I do feel like he for sure felt the weakest out of everyone that was there. I do think that it felt kind of like a different movie when we were with him. But I like the brightness that he brought in, because he was just such an idiot. Like, he was just like some stupid little boy and just bitching the whole time about absolutely nothing. And I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need. Just some guy who doesn't get what's going on, who's just being told what to do. And I love that for him. Rip to Elizabeth Debicki. She looked a mess, and I feel really bad for her. That poor wig just going everywhere. Like, you used to be a queen. But I really like the kind of levity that he brought to it. Especially because most of it was something that we've already heard before. Like, everyone else had already had their shtick. This was a new shtick that I liked a lot. And then he rescued Quill, and that was good of him with the
Oh yeah.
That was nice. But yeah, I liked it.
I will say that I was happy for him at the end of the movie, because his, like, clothes got burned off, and I was like, okay, well, at least you get to, like, show your, like, all your hard work,
all the work that you've gone through to...
right? Because I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, Kumail Nanjiani, he never got that scene in Eternals, so I was like, oh, good for Will Poulter that he gets to show off.
Yes.
I love that scene where he where they're, like, trying to interrogate that like random Ravager, and he, like, just totally incinerates him. And then his little pet is, like, starts to cry, and he's like, I don't really like how that's making me feel. It's kind of sad. Yeah, he was great. I thought like, the comedic timing and everything was excellent.
He felt very much Born Yesterday.
Yeah,
kind of do.
Yes. Absolutely.
And not sexy Born Yesterday, but just idiot Born Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On to next.
Like, okay, so Oh, how about the High Evolutionary? How'd we feel?
Shakespearean level shit, and I loved every
Yeah.
second of it.
Mm.
Oh my God, that was magnificent.
He's an evil bastard
He's an evil
in the best
bastard
way.
in the best kind of way. He's so I was really surprised because he seemed like the kind of person that would just be like so logical and scientific throughout the whole thing. But the reason that he's going through this entire shit is because of just one stupid little raccoon, and to gain a kind of emotional intelligence for the future species that he's trying to create. And I love that kind of inversion, and the music that he always had, and it was just he just felt so giant and classic, and I really Shakespearean, and I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Great monologues all around, incredibly imposing. Did not trust him for a single second, obviously, but damn was he fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie wouldn't be what it is without him, just because his part of the story propels so much of Rockets as well. So, um, yeah, like I said, he was I would say he's up there with some of the top MCU villains. Again, like especially when it comes to like animal torture and stuff, like it takes a real sick kind of person to do that kind of stuff. So, and I love the scene where it shows all the Guardians like watching the footage of like
Rocket.
when they were experimenting on him, and then Nebula's like, wow, this is even worse than what Thanos did to me. And I was like, oh. So yeah. And I loved, I mean, so that scene where Rocket and his friends are trying to escape, and then he ends up killing all of his friends. I loved Rocket's revenge right there. I was like, yeah, Rocket. um but yeah, Chuck Woody Iwuji, fantastic. Chewed the scenery in every scene. I loved his creepy like stretched face.
And then it came off a little bit. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah.
And no one said, told you, this is a face off. No one said a line like that.
I know.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
I know. I was waiting for that too.
I think everyone was.
Yeah. Because I kept bringing
I like the acting. I don't know. I mean, and I like the intent, but since there was a lot of screaming, I was like, I don't know. I think he's mid. But my favorite line in the whole movie involves him. When Star-Lord is in the room and he's monologuing, and Star-Lord's like, I don't care. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But we're all thinking it.
That was my favorite line in the whole movie. I was like, yeah, you call him out for monologuing. That's great.
Yeah, I love that.
So actor's really good, but I was like, I don't know. Because I was having a similar experience. I'm like, I don't want to hear about how this tragic thing happened, and this is why what you're doing is justified, blah, blah, blah. I was right there with Star-Lord.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I didn't really understand because so he's all pissed that Rocket's smarter than him and that he figured out like the secret coding of genetics or
Not
whatever.
making them angry.
So, but then like when it shows him like create, like first there was that like scary turtle guy, and then that was like the mistake, and then Rocket told him what to do to improve that, and then he made like that giant rabbit man, and or whoever else was there. I was like, what about this makes this the perfect species? Like these people are really creepy, and I think I'd rather just prefer like actual humans and like actual animals in their own spaces. But I didn't understand like how a world full of animal hybrid people was like quote unquote the perfect species. And then it turned out not to be, because there was shady drug deals
Still
in the
testing.
alleyways. And,
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. I was like, but yeah, yeah, I didn't really understand his plan, but I thought it was very menacing nonetheless.
Oh yeah, he's definitely terrifying, and he's fucked up. You're like, okay, stay away from this guy. If you wake up in his lab, you are screwed. But yeah, I agree. The whole, what do they call it, Counter Earth or
Counter Earth.
First
And
of
it
all,
was-
why is it on Earth? We're in a universe. There's billions of planets. I love how like it's because this movie's made by humans and we're just so self-involved. Everything's about us, and they're animals, but we're going to make them stand on their hindquarters, and they're going to live in houses and have photographs. And I'm like, it looks too much like it's just our world. I'm like, this looks like if once the Zootopia becomes open source the way Winnie the Pooh did, and this is like the horror version of that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I feel like, especially with the Counter Earth part, and then the new species that he's creating of all of those kids. Like, what is, you're just making Earth. It's, I don't know why. There's just something that really is not clicking in terms of that. I agree. Yeah.
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 Oh,
So
what was
like the
that?
actor, I just don't know. I'm
The
like, let's
plan.
talk about his plan, because I don't
Yeah.
think I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, it's a perfect society. And Quill was like, not when an octopus guy is selling drugs to cockroach face kids. He's like, that's a good point. And then the whole thing
And then he's
explodes.
bam, yeah.
Oh, the smallest little thing really sets him off. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
So I have a question for you too.
Yes.
How do you feel Gamora was handled? Since I did not realize this. So in James Gunn's mind, that was not part of the plan. But since Infinity War and Endgame happened first, since they were borrowing his toys, that mean they really did get free reign, and he had to just settle for wherever they landed him.
That's so
Mhm.
sad.
So what do you guys think of that outcome, since that wasn't part of the plan initially, apparently?
I feel bad for James Gunn on that end. Why would you kill his darling? But in terms of Gamora as a character from what we had with her in Volume 3, I really liked it. I again, I love Elseworld stories and everything and all these kind of AUs, and that for a moment felt like that, and I was happy with it. I liked the quickness and the camaraderie that she had with her Ravagers, but it really just felt when she was with the Guardian that it really felt so detached. I didn't think it was going to be such a drastic shift of her being a Ravager and her not even seeing the point of the Guardians. It was very sad.
Yeah, I was wondering if because we didn't really like see her join the Ravagers at any point, right? It's like we came into this movie and she was like a part of them.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm
Right.
mistaken.
That sounds right.
Because I was wondering, there's actually, if we're gonna start talking about things that I have a little beef with, then we can go into it. But it has to do with like the Ravagers group.
Okay.
But I was wondering like if they decided, because if you guys remember from Volume 2, they kind of like introduced that group at the end of the movie, and it was one of the characters was Michelle Yeoh.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of them was Floating Head Miley.
Right. Okay, hold that thought.
Oh no.
Anyway, back to Michelle Yeoh. So,
A
but like,
queen.
I don't know, because
Oscar winner.
if you look at her character, and then if you look at Gamora in this movie, their like styling is very similar. So I'm wondering if they kind of just like, because I think now after Shang-Chi, it would just be weird to see Michelle Yeoh in that part again. So I wonder if they just kind of like swapped the characters, if they just swapped Gamora. That was just a thought that I had, but because you don't see Michelle Yeoh in this movie. But yeah, that was the one I will say. Despite everything else in this movie, the thing I was most excited to see was Miley come back as Mainframe, and this motherfucker did not come back. She was voiced by Tara Strong this time, who is a queen in her own right. But I was a little disappointed.
That's why I saw Tara Strong in the casting list. I was like, where was
Yeah.
she? Mainframe.
I mean, she had like 4 lines, but I was like, come on, Miley. Like, they should have, when they were filming your Disney Plus special, they should have just like asked you to record some lines.
Hey, you're already in the studio. We want to do
Yeah.
this.
I'm curious though, like how they just recast Cassie Lang, and I guess that actress, the first one wasn't told. Is this like the same thing, or did she not want to come back, or do we not know?
I don't
No
know.
one
There's
knows.
like no information
No
about
one
it,
knows.
but there was, I I think like a while ago she was talking about wanting to come back, and I guess she never did. But
Who's she?
um,
Which she? Because we got about three she's
Miley,
going around. Okay,
talking about
gotcha.
Miley, and yeah, so I was disappointed, and I'm hoping maybe that just means that she'll be used in a much better capacity. That we'll actually see her in the next time we see her in the Marvel and or DCU. So
Who could Miley be in anything? That is the question for another day. We're not talking about this during this
yeah,
interview.
yeah.
During
Let's
this
not
thing.
talk about it. What else? Nebula. I love
What a
Nebula.
Bitch, I love her.
She's like
I
my
love her.
favorite out of the whole. I mean,
Yeah,
it's hard to pick one favorite out of everyone that we see, but I think Nebula might be mine. Love
yeah.
her.
I mean, Rocket's my favorite, but I think a close second is Nebula.
Yeah.
I really dug her new arm.
Yes.
Had a lot of
Move
things she
over,
could do with
Bucky.
that. Right. I mean, in terms of like, I don't. Did she really have? Go ahead.
No, I was thinking about that arm and I was like thinking about the way that it was like kind of animated and everything. It felt very much like a sentinel. Was that the vibe that they were going for?
Don't know. That's a good
Okay,
question.
It
that
was
is a
kind of.
good
It
question.
reminded me of like Cyborg.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was thinking like
Yeah.
Sentinel, Mystique-y, but yeah,
Mm.
Cyborg. Yeah. Same
Yeah.
arm too for Cyborg.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
I don't know if she like. I mean, I love Nebula, but I don't know if there's much to talk about her. I don't know if she
Mm-mm.
didn't really have like her own like character
Thing.
arc. It's,
We had
yeah,
we had that before, so yeah.
right.
I
I also think this is a missed opportunity with Gamora. I feel like they could have gone down a different path for them as sisters, because I was like, okay, the only reason Gamora is going to hang around is because she does have a relationship with
with
Nebula, and
Nebula.
like everyone else might be like, who are these people? So I thought
Mhm.
Nebula was going to be the linchpin that kept her involved. So
Well,
I'm surprised they didn't do more with that.
She
But maybe
was
it's
a
because
little
they did
bit.
so much in the previous movies.
right. I mean, she kind of. I mean, that is why she was there, right? Because when Gamora showed up, it was because like Nebula was the one person that kept
Oh,
contact with
right.
her or
She
something.
instigated
Yeah,
it, but I thought they were going to
right.
then explore that a little bit. But this is a very crowded, like how all the movies are these days, which is my complaint with all of them. Like, it's great that you're introducing new people, but since you're not killing off other people, it's very crowded. So, like, I
Yes.
love Groot, but we barely see Groot. You know, there's just not, and he only says, I am Groot. So, what all can you do with him, really? So, like, I'm mad that we didn't get a lot of him, but what are you going to do with it? You know,
Oh yeah.
so.
I mean, speaking of Gamora, that is another one of my favorite parts at the very end where she finally understands Groot. Because I love the whole during the whole movie where she was like, "You guys were just making things up, right? Like he's not
Yeah.
actually saying anything."
But I
And
like
then
that. I agree with that line specifically, but I felt like the timing of it and when it was said was very inopportune.
when she said that,
Because it was like right after Rocket had been resuscitated.
uh,
And I was like, the whole reason that we're doing this whole thing, he's finally alive, and you're just like, you're just making stuff up.
So
I
you would
mean,
have
I
just
guess
moved it.
Yeah.
right. I
Sorry.
mean,
Go.
I guess that just says because it's not the same Gamora, so I guess she wouldn't care as much. But again, like I like how towards the end of the movie she started to come around, and
Yes.
when Adam Warlock came back in, she grabbed him and she was like running, she was trying to
Mhm.
protect him. So I do really like how they ended Gamora's storyline essentially, because I guess Zoe Saldana is saying that she doesn't want to come back. So
Saldana.
this Saldana,
Because it's an
Zoe
Enya.
Saldana. Oh, that's true.
We're
Every time
Enya
hear
twins.
somebody say her name, nobody ever says that. So
No
that's not
one,
my fault.
I know.
There's a lot of
No, it's
names that
okay.
everyone gets wrong.
Zoe
We just recently
Saldana
put on
is,
the Enya.
yeah. So if this is the last time we see her, I guess I'm happy with that. I would like to see her again, but I don't want them to recast her. So if that's the only way to see her again, then I don't want to see her again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am, having said that, I like what they did. I like that they didn't end with Peter and Gamora together, because I think that
Yeah.
was just too obvious, and I
That
like
wouldn't
that
work
they
at all.
subverted expectations in that
Yeah.
way. And then on top of that, to go back to Gru, I liked his final line, and I guess James Gunn confirmed that is the audience finally understanding what Groot is saying. So I thought that was nice. I just think like this movie has so many like, they like tie everything in a nice little bow, and it's very satisfying. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. I talked about this before, but I really loved the trio of Nebula, of Mantis, and of Drax.
Tracks.
They fit so well together. Mainly Drax and Mantis. Because Nebula was bitching the whole time. As she is prone to do. I'm not faulting her for that, but that's what she's gonna do. God, it's just the sun is directly in my face.
I know.
And it's already terrible because I have like this really bad kink in my neck. That's why I keep going like this the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I need a chiropractor. But I really
Just
love.
crack it back like Nebula does.
Yes. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, it looks like you have blinds there.
I do, but like the lamp that I do have is really shitty. So it'll be like I have no lighting.
Yeah.
But I really like that trio a lot. I really like Mantis and Drax. They just jumped so well off of each other because they're just so good, like good people, good characters.
Yes.
And Nebula is just the complete opposite of that. She's such a realist, and she's very like super hard on everyone and everything to like get it done. Whereas the other two they just want to have a good time. But I loved the ending with the three of them together with the kids, and Drax was translating, and Nebula was like, "Why did you say that you could speak the language?" And he was like, "You never asked." Oh, so good. So good. I thought you knew these people, Nebula. Come on. Take initiative. Try and actually learn from the people that you're living with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's true. Yeah. Mantis and Drax definitely like where they made the Guardians holiday special. I thought that, so I think coming off of
Bacon
that,
alien abduction.
Yeah. Oh, in the post-credit scene on the newspaper. Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I'm like, well, I love Rocket and I love Nebula, but like, to be honest, like I really love all these characters in their own right. And I think they like you said earlier, I think this trilogy has been one of the strongest of the MCU. So yeah, and I loved yeah, like Mantis I think is so funny. I love like every line out of her just like cracks me up, especially like as when they were in the suits and they were trying to figure out the buttons and everything. It's so stupid, but I was just like cracking up. I'd already seen that
We
before.
can hear you.
Yeah.
And she's distinguishing all of the colors. So
like
good.
you were right.
Also, how do we feel about Peter Quill? No thoughts there.
That's about it. Size.
He was good. I mean, yeah, I'm not like the biggest crisp rat fan, but again, like I don't dislike him either. I mean he's great in these movies. And again, I thought his whole character arc of kind of learning to get over Gamora and to kind of like explore other facets of his life that he's kind of been ignoring because he's been out in space. I thought the ending of this movie was really satisfying, that he goes back to Earth and sees his grandpa again. That was very sweet. And apparently he's going to be coming back. So
He doesn't really need to, but okay.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that was weird. I was like, oh, really? Out of this whole
I was
group,
like,
we could have
of
picked
all the
anybody.
exactly.
Like
Why
Rocket
him?
will return or something. No,
Mm.
Yeah.
Star-Lord. Oh, okay.
Okay, go.
One of my biggest gripes with this movie is he should be dead. I'm like, no, his face like exploded or something. I'm like, no,
I
no, no,
know.
you're dead. You're no
Yeah.
longer a god. You got rid of that in volume 2, so you don't have that protection. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm mad that maybe it's because James Gunn did the Suicide Squad, and during that ad campaign, he's all like, "Don't get too attached." So I felt like the same thing was happening here, and so I was just waiting for
Yeah.
deaths. Like when Mantis is going up to those creatures, and she's like, "It's okay," I was like, "And it's gonna bite off
Chop.
her head." Like
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
waiting for it to just eat her, you know. So when he didn't die, I was like, "Oh, come on." I actually rolled my eyes. I was like, "Come on!" I'm like, "Kill somebody." I'm not saying kill all of them, but
Just
make this like,
some of them.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, they really like. I was almost positive he was gonna be. As when his face started to blow up, I was like, okay, there's no going back from
yeah.
that. But somehow you just throw up one of those med pack things, and it just magically heals you.
Or kills you if you're Rocket.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder if remember when we were talking about Ant-Man and we were like we were talking about the ending and how it seemed like they changed it last minute. I wonder if that's like the same situation. I wonder if there's a version where Star-Lord did die
God, I hope
and
so.
and they well I guess it doesn't matter now,
It
but
really doesn't, but I really want it to be.
right.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I mean I guess if he died, like I wouldn't dislike this movie any less. But I guess to be fair, I don't know if I would like it anymore either. So
It's not gonna change our opinion of it that much. I would have liked
right.
it a little bit more, I feel like, if he did die, because I don't know. There was, as you guys have been saying, there were so many opportunities of there to have like finality with these characters by killing them off. And it just, this felt so perfect. Have them lose a leader and then gain a new one in Rocket. Like
Right.
it was right there.
Right. I thought the way the story was going, I was like, this is going to dovetail. First, we're going to see how he lost his first little family there. And I thought, okay, Nebula's going to go with the ship, and Drax should have gotten blown away in the Aura, whatever corp, whatever that place is called, that living
Or Go Corp or whatever. Yeah.
and Star-Lord's gonna die. You know, like I was like, oh, I see what they're doing. They're doing it so he's gonna lose this family, but it's about him going on to create another family. That's where I thought we were going. And then they didn't do that, but they kept teasing like he's dead. No, psych. You know, I'm like, oh come on. You know, like well then just take out that one frame where his face is like, you know, I'm like, well just take that one frame out, and I'm more okay with him not being dead.
Yeah. And especially because I felt like it would have been so much better with that, especially because the final team that we did see with them just made so much sense. They're the only one from the original group was Groot. And you can't kill Groot. Groot's Groot.
I mean, you can kill him, but not really. He comes back.
You can't kill Groot. Right. Don't kill Groot.
No, don't kill Groot.
No.
Darn, I forgot what I was gonna say.
About this, or to segue to something else?
Yeah, I don't remember what
Head
it was.
absolutely empty.
That's okay. Oh. I can bring up topics while you're thinking. What'd you guys think of the soundtrack?
Excellent, as always.
As always. Pretty perfect.
Oh, that is, well, I don't know if that's what I was gonna say, but I will say that I love the Guardians' new ship. I think we saw it in the Christmas special, but I just love like the colors and the design and everything, the Bowie. Really cool. Also random, but I don't know where else to fit this in. But I just remember the like the carrot head guy. So
yes. That's what that picture was. I saw a series of pictures. There was like Guardians Galaxy without context. And I saw a carrot and I was like, what is this carrot?
That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say about it, but I just thought that was you know what he looked like? He looked like those creatures from the first Spy Kids movie. If you all know what I'm talking about.
Like the
Never
thumbs?
saw that.
No, but the what is it called? Floops Fluglies or whatever. It was like
Yes.
yeah, you know what I'm
Yes.
talking about. It was
I
the
do.
guy,
We're the
yeah.
same.
Okay.
Exact same wavelength. I got you.
That character looks straight out of that movie.
And when he was like molding his face, yes.
Yes.
I got you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just appreciated that costume.
Mhm.
That reminds me of something. I love how when we were in that scene, I was like, Nathan Fillion, what's he doing here? I was happy to see him. I loved his whole like, oh yeah, I got one of those guys.
Oh yeah.
That's so relatable, you know.
Mhm.
Since
And he uses it on everybody.
Like, got one of them.
yeah, I love me some Nathan Fillion. Put him in all the movies. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Let him come and just be that guy for a minute. That's great. I'm a fan. So
He can be
Yeah,
that guy talking about that guy.
right. I heard, I mean, there are certain people on the internet that are complaining about, James Gunn putting his friends and family and all of his projects, which I would argue that most filmmakers do the same thing. I don't know if it's because a lot of these people are like comedians, so it comes across a different way, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. It's almost like you're like waiting for this person to show up in the movie. So like I went in like, okay, where's the
girlfriend?
Yeah, who is his wife going to be playing in this movie?
Oh, I
And
forgot
then,
they were married.
right.
I did not pick up on that. That was totally over my head. I know what you're talking about, the complaints from others. A few people brought that up, and I'm like, I have no
Yeah.
idea. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think most directors and filmmakers do that in the first place. So I think it's just because we see, or maybe because he makes so much like genre, movies, that it has the same audience. So it's the same people watching, the same people play different characters again and again. So I don't mind it, but I just wanted to point that out, that there are people who are actively complaining about it,
I don't see a point to
and I
that.
think it's a waste of time.
It's such a waste of time. Like
because it
other
doesn't
people
distract
have,
from the movie. It really doesn't.
No,
Right.
other people have done it. You, as you're watching it, you're just like, well, that's a very well paid extra. Look at you with all your lines. But like other people have been doing it before for decades. It's just it really I don't get why this is the one. I get why, because it's obviously the most recent, and she does end up being in a lot of the genre with the same sort of audience. But like, is this the one that you guys are yelling about? There's so many others you can do. Or just
Right.
not, just get
I know.
over it. Like, it's not that deep.
It's right up there with product placement. Until I started paying attention to the internet at this level, and everyone's talking, I'm like, man, if I didn't go on YouTube ever, I would not even think about product placement. That would not even enter my brain. Only with something really, really blatant, like, what's that movie? How the Power Rangers movies are like Krispy Kreme, like, because it's such a pivotal plot point. That's when it's like egregious. But otherwise, I'm like, okay, so there's a Burger King bag in the background. Who cares? Like, I
Right.
don't care. Like,
Yeah. I
to
was
me,
like, good
this
for
is
you,
the same
Burger
as
King.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I really like about this movie?
What?
The overall aesthetics. I love that we've seen so many movies, and we've seen a lot of movies recently in space, or maybe, I know the
Underwater.
quantum realm is not outer space. I guess, what is that? Inner space?
Who
Microspace?
knows? I don't
most
think
inside of
the people
space.
who made that movie even know what it is.
This does not look like those. It felt very Guardians, but it also felt like, oh, I haven't seen this before, like that core,
That was
whatever.
disgusting. I
It
loved
was,
it.
but I'm like, well, you don't see that anywhere else.
You
It's
really
just
Yeah.
very
Yes.
imaginative,
Or-
very different. I
Yes.
applaud the, I don't know, I guess set design or
/
artistic-
VFX.
Yeah, whatever it makes to
The
make the
vibes.
visual world and the rules of how the world works. Like, they're like, oh, you have to cut it this way.
Yeah.
You know, if you do this, this is going to happen. Like they established rules, so that was nice. You know, I liked all that stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, I think in its entirety, I think this is very well written. Even that, despite like the subject matter and all the nonsense in this movie, like everything really kind of it's not like there's really anything that's like plot holes or things that just like don't make sense, or like all of this like crazy all these crazy things that are happening, like he explains it really well.
Yes.
And it's believable. I just remember that I forgot to mention one of the Ravagers is played by Michael Rosenbaum, who plays Lex Luthor in Smallville. Shout out. He's the guy with the crystal face, so
Yes.
you wouldn't know, but shout out to Michael Rosenbaum. I met you before. You're very nice.
We like you.
Oh, and
You're a good bald guy.
Since it's the three of us specifically talking today, we have to talk about the hallway fight because someone's been watching Daredevil and they said, what if we did Daredevil but made it gross?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
That was incredible. I was just like, oh, this is so cool. And it was like kind of designed as like a one shot, which I appreciated. And everybody like got their own moment too. I was like, which is my favorite part of it. I was like, oh great, we get to like spend some time, and it's almost like you're putting us in their shoes for a little bit. So yeah, that was really cool. You got to see everybody kind of get their own little badass moment.
Yes, I agree. And that's the best part of a hallway fight, mainly because I liked how I was able to balance out with everyone, because you would think that it would just be, I don't know. From when I think of hallway fight and the singular one of just Maddie, it's just him and just we're kind of trekking along and all that jazz. But with this, as we're able to jump through everyone, it makes a lot of sense, and how everyone is able to like kind of line up with each other, and it was just it was so good. It was so satisfying. Yeah.
I would love making a featurette where they explain how they designed and choreographed so that the camera does what it needs to do so it feels seamless. Like I would love to just watch that whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's a good point, and to like see what's actually on camera, because there's so like obviously there's so much CGI involved. Yeah. I wonder like what is actually on set, and like how they choreograph that.
Right.
That'd be really fascinating to see.
Even if it is CGI and it's not a real camera, the proportions have to be correct. Otherwise, you're like, well, that's not really Drax. So everything had to line up so it's believable. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, wow, just the level of craft here.
Yeah.
I want to watch how did you make this? Show me putting that together. Like, what does it take?
Definitely. Yeah. I like James Gunn has been kind of like tweeting out a bunch of, or sharing a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. I didn't know that that like passed out drunk Peter Quill was a like a completely artificial model of him.
That was
which is really creepy and scary.
It was so weird. I saw that video of Karen Gillan trying to hold him, and I was like, no, I don't like that.
Just put a little microchip in there, and then it'll take over the world.
Disgusting. I didn't realize it was that. Like, that was so, like, seeing especially that one behind the scenes video of that one of Peter Quill passed out, I was like, ugh. I don't know.
And that was another long take. The opening, it harkens back to volume 2 where it one take-esque. But what do you guys think of the opening long take in terms of setting the tone and
I'm a creep.
Yeah.
With Rocket.
Rocket's got a good voice. Way to go, Bradley Cooper. Sing, Bradley Cooper, sing.
Oh, Rocket was the best part of this movie.
He really was.
Just anything involving Rocket in this movie was just bravo.
And when he was with the little raccoons,
oh my god, those baby raccoons! Just like watching them tremble in the cage, just like the hand that was reaching out for them. I was like, oh, you don't deserve this.
You really don't. I really liked at the end when he was trying to convince everyone to take all of the animals, Because I was looking at that and
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
you can't just leave them all there.
I wonder if I can
Nice.
set him up here
There
somehow.
he is.
Hold on, I'm gonna stand him up here. Um,
And then they all come running. It's very Noah's Ark. I love
It's
it.
very Noah's
Yeah, I
Ark.
know.
Yes,
I was like, this is Space Noah's Ark.
exactly.
But that was
Get
really
into
great.
the skull. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, now there's a whole bunch of animals on Nowhere,
Now we
and
all got.
those giant monsters as well.
Yes. Well, not for long. They're going on adventures too
Right.
with Mantis.
That is, I wonder if they're gonna. I know Mantis is supposed to have a very like, her, her role in the comics goes beyond the Guardians, and she's supposed to be like really powerful, and so I wonder if they have like future plans for her.
That's
I
a
don't know, they
question for
only promised
James.
Star-Lord, which is very odd. I'm like, why aren't we talking about, I mean, this is a group. So why
I
not talk
know,
about the group? So
and we just found out that they were family, and now they're separated again.
We have to get the team back. We got to get the band back together.
Yeah.
I guess one way to wrap up, like to me, I was in one of my Twitter chats talking about this. I think it's getting harder to rank movies because to me, they are all over the place at this point. Do you guys feel like you can continue to rank Marvel movies? And if so, where would you rank this one? Or are you like me? You're like, oh no, it's too different. Can't do it,
Oh, in terms of all of them?
Or in
Or
terms of
maybe
the
everything
trio.
that's not the Infinity Saga because we're in a new space now. So like maybe everything after Endgame to now, or I don't know. However you want to divvy it up. Like if you had to divvy it up in some way and rank things, could you and would you? That's the question.
I probably could. I feel I'm getting a little bit of I was getting a little bit of the Marvel fatigue. But this helped me a lot in getting over that. But I feel like I could rank it mainly because everything else would kind of be at a lower level. So this one I know where it would live. So I feel like in terms of that, it would be easier to rank. But as we get in, if I get into the other ones closer to the bottom, that'd be harder to put as to who deserves to be that much higher up.
To be honest, I would say, first of all, I would say this is my favorite Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Um, so it's definitely at the top of that list. But I would actually put it in terms of overall MCU, even just in general overall MCU, I would put it probably. I'm looking at my list right now. I don't know how updated this is.
Is it a top 10 or a top 5?
I think it might be a top 5, to be honest.
Nice.
Yeah. Because right now I think I have Endgame at number 1, No Way Home, Thor Ragnarok. Do I still agree with that? Yeah, I do. Black Panther, and then I had Shang-Chi as number 5, but I might actually put Guardians of the Galaxy there instead.
Interesting.
Also, but I also noticed that, I mean, if we're counting like Disney Plus shows, then Daredevil would be number 1.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
So okay.
Because we all know that we would have the same opening, but
right.
We're not doing that.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I would say it's a top 5 for sure. For sure.
I guess. I don't have a list. I don't really care, but if asked.
Oh, I have a list, but it's fluid. It's always changing.
Yeah.
Overall, it would be hard, but in terms of movies post Endgame, I do think this is one of the better ones. Here's a good way to end this review. The reason I think this movie is doing better than some of its peers that are coming around at the same time is I don't feel like the characters are being sidelined. Like Doctor Strange 2 failed for me, even though I loved Wanda. I was like, why is Doctor Strange even here? He feels so superfluous. Same thing with Thor.
In
It
his
felt like,
own
oh, let's
movie.
make Jane important and let's make Thor an idiot. Like I feel like I still recognize these characters. They feel like themselves. So it feels like, yay, we got to spend another chapter with them. Because that's why we keep coming back, right? We keep coming back because we're like, oh, right, I can't wait to see Rocket, or I can't wait to see Nebula. Whoever it is that you like, you're excited to see them. And they
continuing
didn't
their stories.
So
yeah.
That's what I think is the sweet sauce here. Like, yeah, it's character driven. Treat your characters well, and the fans will be happy. That's what I think. So,
and apparently that's hard to do.
But I don't understand why they did it so well for so long.
It's because they keep hiring these damn Rick and Morty writers who don't know how to fucking write a movie.
Ouch.
I
Is
mean,
there
it
any
had
Rick
to
and
be
Morty
said.
fans watching this? Sorry.
I'm
I was
not.
just speaking the truth. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think there actually are more decent movies post Endgame than a lot of people remember. Like, I mean, Shang-Chi was great, I thought. Black Panther 2 came out.
yes.
This movie, Spider-Man No Way Home. So, I think there's something to be said that it's not like it's a complete revival, because I don't think it has completely died yet.
Right.
We're not in our Disney Renaissance era yet.
But I think especially coming off of Quantumania, I think this is such an improvement. Just overall, just in terms of enjoyment and quality.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very well said. I didn't mean to imply that phase 4 has been garbage. It has not. I'm just saying the sequel movies to characters that we're familiar with, it's just funny how the treatment of them, I think, is what hindered them the absolute most for me personally. Whereas this, I was like, oh, thank God. It felt very character driven, character first.
Very nice.
And we do recognize them. Everyone was behaving the way that we kind of know them to be. So you weren't like, whoa, who's that?
Right.
So
yeah.
Which I think is a good way to conclude this. Yeah. So if we feel
It
good
is.
about all of our thoughts,
We do.
then we shall wrap it up. So I guess, okay, I have to admit, I've never seen anything about the Marvels, but since they put the trailer in front of this movie, when the trailer ended, I was like, oh, damn. I guess I do want to see that. Because I was ready to go, nope, I'm done. But now I'm like, all right. I'll go see the
I guess I'll see the
Marvels.
Marvels.
Yes.
Yes.
Just like Star-Lord, the Council 2.0 will return. Hopefully before the Marvels, though. We'll do other stuff.
Yeah.
But
we have something in 2 weeks and I'm already planning. So.
oh, excellent. Yay.
Yes.
All right. Well, then I guess that's it for today. So thank you for joining us. Hope you like our thoughts. And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Bye. Bye, little
Goodbye.
rocket.